Welcome to This Justin, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from the Georgia HIMSS Annual Conference in Atlanta, the Health IT capital of America. Very excited to introduce my next guest and current Georgia HIMSS president, Chris Paravate, very good friend of the show. Thank you for joining us again, my friend.
I'm so excited to be here.
One of the great CIOs in the industry, Northeast Georgia Health System, and also a great, a great supporter of the show. It's great to have you back on air. What's been new? How's the morning? How's the thing?
Wow, I mean, there's a lot of energy here. We've got over 500 people here today, and just a great mix of, providers and partners, and so you can feel that energy. It's super exciting.
Yeah, you have a great, the health systems here, the people who make it happen on a regular basis, the innovators, you guys do a phenomenal job. And congratulations to you personally. You've grown this, I think last year, we're just under that, so now we've grown maybe another 10%, 15% this year at the annual conference. As I opened the show, we talked about how, we've worked very hard over the past even 20 years of cultivating this great community, but then Georgia HIMSS even recently has really carried that ball forward again, having 500 people here, 500 people in this first event. I think it's the largest regional chapter annual conference that at least I'm aware of. So
I think that, the magic behind that has been really the health systems that have come out and continue to collaborate. Our partnership with organizations like Piedmont and Wellstar and Children's, and the way that we share ideas really helps us lift the overall care delivery in this community. And then we got amazing partners, right? And so a lot of that stems from relationships and connections that we've had over a period of time. And so you get this good energy. And not only that, the quality of the presentations and the material is phenomenal. And these are individuals that, frankly, I just ran into the CISO from Children's. He's sharing how they're approaching some of the AI solutions. My team is literally in that room hearing that, right? Yes. And then we're presenting later on in the day about some of the stuff that we're doing in development with Snowflake and with Workday and with AWS. And so they're hearing that and they're taking those ideas back. And that is ultimately making a better care delivery in this region. And I think that's really how it all comes together in a pretty exciting way.
Yeah, well said. So Stoddard, is that who you're talking about?
Stoddard,
he'll be on my show. Yeah, he'll be on the show in an hour or so.
He's a super sharp guy. He's awesome.
Excellent. And you brought it up, before we dive into some of the questions, keys to success from the stage this morning being deliberate. So take a second on that, because actually, it's a very good point, because I think people get busy, they're scrolling, they're trying to do something,
right.
But they're not being deliberate with their time.
Yeah.
So spend a second on that.
Like I said, I shared this morning, I was at a wedding and one of my son's friends, Grant, was like, hey, Mr. Paravate, how have you been so successful? And I was like, first of all, you never kind of see yourself in that light. But the only thing I could come to mind was just be deliberate, right? And we get so much input, so much noise. There's so much activity coming at us every single day. Hundreds of emails, people are calling, you got priorities and follow-ups, texting, right? How do you sift through that noise to make sure that you're working on the most important priorities immediately? Weeks out, months out, and where is that 12-month, that 24-month strategy, and then how are you constantly calibrating to that? And that's a relentless pursuit, and something that I think for a lot of CIOs, it's spending considerable time thinking about that. What is the most important next thing for your organization, and how do you help the organization align to that strategy? So that's what, it's funny how these little things in your life, kind of give you these pauses and these moments of reflection. And it literally, this 24-year-old kid just asked me, and I was like, you got to be really thoughtful, really deliberate.
Well said, well said. I have to give a moment, because this show is about best practices and key strategies in healthcare, IT, and innovation, but that's just the best practices in life. So
it is. Yeah. And what I say in my division in our organization is work comes and goes. Okay, the technology is going to go. I tell people I got some mad skills in C++. Okay, people look at me like, what? You're like, you know, um, but that's a great example of that the technology is going to constantly be changing, right? So how are you continuing to reinvent yourself, right? And that is about being really deliberate in the way that you're approaching your strategy, building a culture, and then executing on that delivery in a very deliberate way.
Yeah, and to that point, to prove your point again, 'cause you're so spot on. Is I'm very deliberate. I actually, as I mentioned last night at dinner, went back to I'm at Stanford now, studying data and data transformation and AI, and actually learned how to code in Python. Or we had to do a Python string last night. So anyhow, you bring up C++.
Well, and that's right. And I don't know Python, but you know what? I know an AI solution that I could literally go, give me the Python code for the following things.
Exactly.
Right? How are you prompt engineering? How are you thinking about those things? And then all of a sudden, it comes together. So I think we're in a domain that we're experiencing right now that's incredibly transformational. I think we'll look back, even in 24 months, and you're like, oh my gosh, how fast the world is changing now.
Absolutely true. So what progress, we talked about some really cool stuff, but what progress are you most excited to see occurring in healthcare today?
Historically, we've thought about big projects, right? We have projects that are 6, 12, 18 months, 24 months in duration, right? And then we think about this upgrades, enhancement bucket, right? And you're just churning incremental changes, and that's great, and it's been good, and it's got us here. But now there's this third category of AI adoption, and I can drive huge transformation in our organization in bursts. I mean, we rolled out in 2 months. We rolled out ambient voice recognition to over 500 providers in our organization, and I've had physicians come to me and say, "You changed my life," and I'm like, "I changed your life?" Like, no, like. I'm not working at home at night.
Right.
I'm talking to patients, and I'm enjoying my work.
Amen.
And you know what else? They're seeing more patients.
Right.
And so it's paying for itself.
Right.
And then I'm hearing from patients to go, the physician actually sat and talked to me. And so that's a great example, right? And I think that's becoming mainline very quickly. Well, think about, our organization has maybe 1,200, 1,500 providers in our medical staff. Imagine what we could do for nursing.
Right.
Now I got 6,000 lives that I can touch.
Right.
And how can I help that nurse be in the moment? And the moment of compassionate care means that I've taken all the transactional stuff that's been taken care of. And so I think that's an exciting space.
Very.
We're going to be piloting nurse ambient voice recognition later this year. We're part of early adopter with Microsoft, Nuance. We're doing some exciting development around how do we really give access to data, right? So we built an LLM on our reporting stack, and so people can just say, hey, I'm looking for a report on geometric mean length of stay, and here's a list of reports.
Wow.
And here's who uses them. And oh, by the way, would you like that report? And so a lot of automation in that space. And then on the revenue cycle side, right? That's an obvious one. We're driving out denials. This technology, and the reason why I bring these three buckets, right? You think about projects and where we've been over the last decade. You think about enhancements and technical debt and where we are and where people struggle. And then you've got this breakthrough capability. So if I can drive, let's say, $4 million of improvement in denial letter automation, right?
There you go.
All of a sudden that $4 million could be allocated to try to address that technical debt, right? And so you're driving down this cost structure, but you're bringing it in a transformational way. And I'm rabid about this. Okay, I think about it at night. I think about it the day, and so thinking about deliberate, right? So that's my theme today. How are you training yourself? How are you educating yourself? How are you educating your team? And where are you on that adoption curve? Because you'll look back, right? somewhere in our careers, and I'm probably a few years ahead of you, but you'll look back about times in your career and you go, okay, was I early adopter? Was I late adopter? And was I dragged down this path?
Right.
Or did I lead a team down that path? And I think this is an opportunity.
No, extremely well said. I mean, listen, we opened the show talking about that as one of the key technologies of giving, not only providing better care, but giving time back to providers, reducing that clinical burnout that is so desperately needed to be solved in this country. So the fact that you brought up is great.
It's just being able to care for people. Remember, when we care for people, it's not just medically what they need.
Yeah.
It's emotionally what they need. And our patients come to us from all walks of life.
Right.
And they bring every problem manifests itself somewhere in that clinical care. Family problems, behavioral issues, social economic issues. Our teams are responsible for caring those patients, and I need them to be in that moment to be able to give that patient what they need emotionally, not just medically.
Right. Extremely well said. I can tell how you're one of the best CIOs in the industry, my friend. You're approaching this so perfectly. How long have you been CIO there?
I've been 11 years, which is crazy. We've gone from one hospital to 6 hospitals now. We have literally tripled in size. And so every year has been a different year, right? A new CEO has joined our organization this year, Matt Hanley. And Dr. Hanley has been really, really insightful and really recognizing what do we have here, which is pretty amazing, and where do we go?
Right.
And so, he and I spent a lot of time thinking through strategy. How is technology going to increase the quality? We want to be the best health system in the country.
Right.
How do we provide exceptional quality, exceptional safety, and do it at a lower cost? Well, that's a complicated equation. Well, we can peel some of that apart with technology. I think we're a big contributor.
Well, and you do, and you also lead this way tremendously well. You leverage your partners. You call them partners because they can get you from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
And you do a great job fostering those environments, fostering that leadership. I mean, also what you're doing not only with Northeast Georgia Health System, but you can tell as the president of Georgia HIMSS here, how you're giving back, you're investing in the community, but also you see this as an area for you to get more information, for you to get the expertise, and then coming and see these sessions. So it all feeds itself, and that's what actually Hal and I were talking about just before you came on the show, about how you can get as much as you want out of a Georgia HIMSS conference, a National HIMSS conference, annual conference. Everybody's there, everything is there, every strategy, every best practice, but you need to go be deliberate with your time, and you can go find all those answers and solutions.
And and partnerships are super important, right? And we've got some great sponsors here today. Some of them are our partners. Juniper Networks has been a long partner. For 12 years now, we've been partnered with them. Workday, AWS.
I think you can have AMD.
Microsoft, AMD. Boy, wow, watch their stock overnight. I saw the AMD guys. I was like, and one of them was looking at their cell phone. And it was like, are you planning an early retirement now?
Yeah.
So
I knew there's some big, I could tell. I think there's a lot of good chatter out there about there's some big good stuff happening with AMD.
There is, and you watch that whole segment, right, from a macroeconomic perspective, and you can see it, right? You follow the investment dollars. There's something there. These are, investors are very intelligent, very, high on due diligence. They're making big bets, and that tells you that is a marker for honestly what's coming.
Amen.
And so it's exciting space.
Absolutely true. So I guess in a closing last question, I would ask you best practice. We've covered a lot of great ground, but what would you say to someone who's working to be a top CIO or wants to be a CIO? Because it's a very hard job. I mean, it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the country, to be honest. I think it's harder than even a CEO role is making all this stuff work. So kudos to you. What would you give for advice to somebody who said, you know what, I want to be a top CEO in the industry?
Gosh, that's a really tough question, right? First of all, be really grounded in what's important in your core values. And I would start with that. And, people talk about culture a lot, okay? What is the culture, the environment that you seek to build in your IT division, and how well is that aligned to your organization? My organization's values and my core values and our IT core values are aligned. and that's super important, right? The work is more important than the role, right?
That's good. That's key.
Work comes and goes.
Yeah.
People are more important.
Amen.
You got to take care of your team. You got to invest in capability and skills. You got to have unfiltered dialogue. You got to really be able to talk.
Well, you talked about that, also last time you were on my show, you talked about how you would check in with the doctors after you do an implementation, during implementation, you still check in with them, see how they're doing.
Absolutely.
That could be a continuous relationship and bring in new technology innovation.
And you know what? You got to listen to it.
Amen.
And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're right and they're wrong.
Right.
Or they're. It
Doesn't
doesn't matter.
That's right. Good
It's
for you.
their perception. So go to the work.
That's right.
Go see it.
go
Go
to the
have a
work.
conversation.
That's right. Go to the work. That's right.
And I'll tell you, you'll change those relationships. Those relationships will give you insight. And sometimes it's hard to hear it.
Yeah. Good for you.
But you need to own it.
Yeah.
And you own it, and you get it. You get it to a better place.
Yeah. Well said, my friend. Chris Paravate, you're an amazing
Yeah.
CIO, good friend of the
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Great
Have
to
a good-
see you
Have a
again.
good rest of your day. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from the Georgia HIMSS Annual Conference in Atlanta, the Health IT capital of America. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest and great friend of the show, great friend of mine, Mr. Jeff Brown, Chief Information Officer for Piedmont Healthcare, now retired, but thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Justin.
It's great to have you here. Welcome back to the show. I guess first of all, you got here a little bit ago, walking around, great energy here. It's good to see all these. These are, hundreds and hundreds of friends of yours personally. So, how's that?
No, it's great. Again, I wouldn't have had the success I've had without this platform being in place to help us evolve, as this has become such a complex component of the world we live in today. So, again, healthcare is so dependent on the technology that we have seen grow over the last several decades.
Well, we're actually bragging on Piedmont. I mean, not only are you're a phenomenal CIO, you built a phenomenal organization there, great technology, innovation deployed, but also great supporters of the community. You adopt technology. So when we start companies here locally, it's a great ecosystem because you bring that technology in, you allow us to improve it, you allow us to make it that much more better to long-term rollout and deployments. So thank you for that partnership, but also being the innovator, having that partnership with us as a community, as innovators. So we're grateful for that.
Oh no, you're welcome. I found it to be selfish reasons as well, part of that, because we get an early look at some of the great ideas and some of the evolutions that have actually changed the world,
Right.
and we were had early access to that as a result of people like you.
You did. So what progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry today?
I will say two things. One is obviously AI is the most exciting thing that's hit the general population. AI in our world has been there for a long time.
It has.
But the usability of it, the ability to go and stand up an application is driving process improvement at speeds that we've never seen before. And
Right.
some of those things are going to stick
Yep.
and become foundational for the industry. And so I'm just excited about just some of the things we've been able to see with ambient listening. You're starting to see some of the we talked about some of the radiology, we talked about note summarization. Even Jeff Brown, as ancient as I am, AI is part of my life when I wake up.
Same
and,
here,
and when I'm putting things together,
Yep.
and it just saves me time and energy just from an administrative perspective. Same thing is happening in our health system.
Yeah, and I use that. I just published a playbook on AI and specifically how not only should you be deploying it in your business, but deploying it for you personally to learn, to scale yourself faster, even process your thoughts, even make your learn the way that you want to learn. It's one of the biggest things. Actually, I went back to school for digital health, digital transformation, and AI at Stanford, and I am using AI to categorize my thoughts and also learn some of these very complex topics the way that I want to learn. So I think that's something I didn't even realize that with, obviously AI, we don't even know all that AI can do for us, but if you choose to harness it to better yourself, harness it to improve yourself, and what you do on a daily basis, like you brought up, I think it's critically important to think about it that way as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So you've been retired for one day. I love that. And he's here. I mean, this is, just what a great man he is and why everybody loves you. You have some fun plans. Obviously, you've got some great family stuff, personal stuff. But how long were you CIO at Piedmont?
I was 11 years.
11 years. And Chris Paravate has been with Northeast Georgia 11 years, and I've had the show for 11 years. That's like our lucky number right now.
Yeah, Chris is great. We have a great relationship,
Yeah.
and we share many common thoughts.
He brought
But
that up.
again, we operate independently for our organizations. As you know, each organization has its own culture and
Absolutely.
all the things that go with it. But what I love about Chris and what he shares the same idea that I do.
Mhm.
When we started out, we were dependent on organizations like HIMSS,
Right.
Chime, and some others, right?
Different.
And so bringing great people together like yourself and other partners that you
Yeah.
see around the room to help enable the growth and knowledge base expand within the industry. Healthcare was behind some of the other industries
Right.
back in those days,
Very true.
right? Banking was a little bit ahead of us,
Absolutely.
and some of the, I would say education may have been the one the furthest behind.
Mhm.
But now you can't go anywhere without seeing it totally embedded in any healthcare ecosystem.
Right. No, well said. No, you can get what you want, and this has come up now as a theme on every one of my shows this morning, is whatever you put in, you can absolutely get out. Anything you want to achieve at a Georgia HIMSS conference, a national annual HIMSS conference, you can absolutely achieve. Everybody's there. Every ounce of knowledge is there. Wisdom, innovation, strategy, best practice. If you put the effort, the deliberate effort into it, you will absolutely get
That's
out of
right.
that and learn.
That's right.
Who's going to be the incoming? Do we have an incoming CIO yet for
We
Piedmont?
do. A gentleman is coming in from Geisinger,
Okay.
and he starts next week
Okay.
at Piedmont.
Fantastic.
Great guy. Had an opportunity to meet him. I'll let him announce himself.
Good man.
So that people won't be outside his front door when he arrives.
Fantastic. I love it. And we talked about this a little bit, but what healthcare or digital health trends are you seeing in the industry? I mean, we talked a little bit about AI, talk about ambient listeners come up in every one of my shows, but what other trends are we seeing out there?
You know, from my perspective, we're seeing it also in the commercial side of the business. As we're looking at mobile technology, as you know, there are mobile transportation methods, and they're adding more and more services in those mobile units. And AI
Like
is
wayfinding and
wayfinding.
Yep.
You have not just wayfinding, but you also have instrument tracking.
Yep.
You have instructions that are being given to drivers that are in their ecosystem traveling around the state. They can look at the demand and sort of balance demand now without it being a phone call, without there being people directing them to
Right.
go from source A to B to C.
Right.
And so demand leveraging is sort of a thing now that's taken an administrative process where you had people doing it
Right.
to the technology predicting activity and helping to put resources in the right places. So I just see
Right.
I just see the trend expanding now where technology can do what much quicker and probably more effectively than, I hate to say this,
Oh, absolutely true.
people.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, I mean the accuracy, specificity that technology can do it. Again, on the educational side, I'm shocked at how AI I leverage it to learn a key term or a key factor or something much more quickly than even the professor that I'm trying to listen to. But technology is teaching me because it teaches me the way I want to learn, not the way that person wants to teach, but the way I want to learn. That's a huge difference the way our brain processes information. So that's where AI is going to revolutionize educational system. I mean, it's probably scary what's going to happen on that side of the business.
I think so.
But obviously, it's good for us. We get to learn at another pace, another speed. What do you see as a key strategy to be ready to navigate in a couple of years? And again, I know you're retiring, so you can just, it's not that you have to be held to it because you're going to be moving on. But what do we need ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now in healthcare and digital health?
So I've been thinking about that a little bit, and I think you're starting to see these mega transitions to EMRs. You're starting to see these mega transitions to ERP platforms and so forth. And I think that those services will be offered as a service at some point. And individual organizations like Piedmont won't necessarily have to go and have all these independent relationships. You'll be able to be part of maybe an ecosystem. And I see that trend sort of coming. That's hard to think
Great
about
point.
it.
No, I see that. I agree with that.
But I'm seeing this.
Mhm.
And I would say that, in the past, and even today, we still think about ourselves as individual consumers of that technology, but really some of the shared dynamics of that will bring economies to scale that will get people excited, and then it will explode. Now, I'm predicting that.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I actually I envision that, and I'm actually seeing some of that kind of happen and consolidate in some way. So I agree with that. What do you hope for the rest of your time here? Obviously, it's a special time, probably sad time for some parts of the brain, but then also it's great to see everybody. But what do you hope to accomplish in the next couple of hours here?
Well, to encourage those to follow.
Amen.
That's part of my reason for being here. If it wasn't for people, you know, in our industry that took time when I was a young, enthusiastic young person, trying to find my way in this world called healthcare IT, I'm not sure that I would have gotten there.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I pass on to those that follow all the wisdom that I can, and that's why I'm here. And it may be my last formal event.
I know. Jeff Brown, thank you, my friend. It's sad, I know. Gosh, he's been a great friend for a long, long time. You've done a phenomenal job. A lot of us nationally still look to Piedmont to see what they're accomplishing, what you're doing. I read about you on a regular basis, and it's exciting. I know you guys have a lot of fun times coming up, certainly with a new CIO, and but what you've been able to build over the last several years, decade, is extremely impressive. So
thank you, Justin. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, my friend.
Yes,
yeah, and you make it down to Sarasota. My door's always open. We'd love to see you in Sarasota. It's a great retirement spot. That's where I live.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, Sarasota's a fun town. So come visit.
Will do.
You got it, my friend.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jeff. And thank you to all my show participants, and certainly the people here in the crowd, the listeners, all of my AMD and AWS are great supporters, and certainly Beth Friedman, Finn Partners. You guys are amazing, and the entire HIMSS Georgia board and leadership team for the opportunity to broadcast every single year here. And again, thank you to all my listeners. Please tune in weekdays at this show broadcast 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin T. Barnes, or track me on Twitter at HOT Advisor. And use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so we can respond to your comments from the show. If you missed any of this episode or want to hear more, all my shows are posted on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Megaphone, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn.
You're everywhere, like Roy Kent.
Exactly. Yeah, right. That's great. Thanks, everyone, and that's a wrap. Have a great rest of your day.